Here, please let the record reflect we have reconvened virtually with all members present. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, justice for all. I want to take a moment for a moment of silence. In September, we lost our retired police chief, John Trevina, and I definitely did not note this in the first meeting after his passing. He died on September 16th in Aurora, Colorado. Born in Morristown, lived in Chatham, and had moved off to Conifer, Colorado to fulfill his retirement dream. Stated in his obituary, John dedicated his life's work to local law enforcement. Retiring as chief of police for Madison after 30 years of service, he formally began his law enforcement career in 1983 with Morris Township. And his actual love for police service began 4 years earlier when he joined the Morristown Police Explorers in 1979. In 86 is when he joined the Madison Police Department and served our community for 27 years. He was predeceased by his parents, Lois and Robert, his sister Kathleen, and stepson James. He's survived by his wife Marianne, his brothers James and Robert, his son JR, daughter Emma, and stepdaughters Jessie, Julia, Lauren, and granddaughter Talia. We also want to remember Ruth Barrett of Madison, who died peacefully in her home on October 24th at the age of 99. She was born in Massachusetts, attended Whitman Junior College in Newark, and then enrolled in Seton Hall University as one of the first classes to admit women in the formerly all-male college. In 1945, she married William Barrett, and they had two children, Pamela and William Jr. He was a parishioner at St. Vincent Martyr Church for 66 years, held leadership positions, including president of the Rosary Society and Mothers Guild. Additionally, she worked at the College of St. Elizabeth and Silver Burdett and Gin. She also served as chairperson for the Senior Center Trip Committee and associate on the Senior Center Board. She volunteered many decades at St. Vincent School Library, the Morristown Library, and the Madison Library because of her love of reading. She's survived by her daughter Pamela, son William, her son-in-law, 3 granddaughters, and 2 great-grandchildren. Let us take a moment to remember Chief John Trevina and Ruth Barrett and pass our thoughts on to the families they have left behind. Thank you. I have a motion for the regular minutes of September 30th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
And a regular motion for the regular minutes of October 14th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And welcome all to this beautiful early September day that we had in Madison. The last couple of days were beautiful. It is not official yet, but with the amount of votes that have been counted by the county clerk's office, I think AP would be comfortable in calling the Madison council race. I want to congratulate Don Hoover on his reelection and Bob Landrigan on his election to return to the council. And I want to thank Michael Daly and Michaela Goodman for stepping up to run for office. It is not easy in a normal year, and certainly not easy in a year such as this to to step into public campaigning and so on. And a very important announcement at our last meeting, I had announced that we're going to have a town hall meeting via Zoom on our affordable housing obligation. We had announced it to be Wednesday, November 18th, but we have to move it up to Monday, the 16th. And this is to allow the meeting to precede the planning board meeting November 17th. We have to do things in a sequential order. So again, this meeting will cover the plans for Madison meeting our obligations, including the concept and site for the 40 unit, 100% affordable housing. And it will be an advertised meeting of the Borough Council with the intent to pass a resolution directing the planning board to begin the process to prepare a redevelopment plan for the site. And again, mark your calendars. It is Monday, November 16th at 7 p.m. The Zoom will be posted. Also, would like to mention we have a little change in our agenda. We're adding one discussion item. As we know, our country is seeing a predicted surge of COVID cases this fall, and Madison has not been immune to this. So we have added the agenda item, an update on what's going on in Madison, steps to control the spread as we head into the holiday season. And the Board of Health President Eric Range will be presenting that. And a reminder to everyone, this Wednesday is Veterans Day. And as is our tradition, led by the American Legion, will be recognizing those who have served our country at the 11th hour, the 11th day, the 11th month, at the World War I Memorial on Condorcet Way. As a reminder, those attending, please wear your masks and socially distant, so we can protect those that have served our country. And I want to thank Carmela Vitale, because we have you'll hear shortly, a resolution on our consent agenda to designate courtesy parking spaces for our veterans, to thank them for their service. And employees for the month of November: Patrolman Mike Arabella, firefighter Kevin Webb, firefighter Thomas Boylan have been selected as employees of the month for November. Patrolman Mirabella responded to a Kensington Road residence on Sunday evening on a report of unresponsive elderly female and immediately started emergency medical treatment. He was joined by firefighter Kevin Webb, who was off duty and was heading home when he heard the call and responded to the scene. Firefighter Tom Boylan heard the medical call on his radio at home and immediately responded to the firehouse on his own time to cover staffing while the department personnel were at Kensington Road scene for an extended period of time. The victim was revived and eventually left the premises, company of her daughter, without need for further medical attention. So big thank you and kudos to our employees of the month for compassion and professional response. And that is all. And we go on to reports from committees. Finance and Borough Clerk, Council President Vitale. You're on mute.
Over again. Okay, here we go. This evening, there are two important items on the agenda related to the Finance Department. The first resolution is 274-2020, which is a resolution supporting the submission of the borough's LGEF, or Local Government Emergency Relief Fund grant. This is federal CARES grant funds that can be used for COVID-19 relief. And the borough is eligible for $198,036 to help the borough pay for such things as health department overtime, sanitizers, etc. And I did notice that Jim has already prepared that grant, and it's ready to go. The second item on the agenda is Resolution 282-2020, which is a resolution authorizing budget transfers. The local budget law permits the council to transfer unspent funds from one department to another if it's needed. For example, we need to transfer additional funds into the health department to help pay for the additional staff overtime as a result of the pandemic. The total budget number is not increasing. We are just transferring funds from one appropriation line to another. The tax collector is announcing that tomorrow is the last day of the grace period for the fourth quarter taxes. Payments must be received in the office by 4:30 p.m. So far, we've collected 88.5% of the fourth quarter taxes. Hattie and Chrissy are probably going to have a very busy day tomorrow, so get those payments in. The senior freeze PTR application deadline, as I mentioned last time, was extended to December 31st. Any seniors who have not done so should bring their forms into the tax office. Hattie and Chrissy really know about this, and they'll be able to help you fill out those forms. Finally, our tax sale advertisement will be published for 4 weeks in the Madison Eagle, beginning this Thursday, November 12th. Tax sale will be held on December the 9th. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you. And public safety, Ms. Bailey.
Thank you, Mayor. From the police department, during the past couple of weeks, our probationary officers, Finocchiaro, Mara, and McQuestron have successfully completed all aspects of field training and are now doing solo patrol duties within the patrol division. They've been assigned to their different squads, and they will continue to be evaluated and monitored by their direct supervisors. And the Madison Police Department and Chief Datchison would like to congratulate Lieutenant Joe Longo for earning the FBI LEEDA Trilogy Award. This stands for the Law Enforcement Executive Development Association, and it provides intense leadership training to develop our police leadership for the challenges that face their profession. Lieutenant Longo has completed 3 courses offered by this program: the Supervisor Leadership Institute, the Command Leadership Institute, and Executive Leadership Institute, earning him this award. So we want to congratulate him. From the fire department, during the month of October, they responded to 19 general alarms, 23 investigations, 19 medical calls. And there were 2 department training drills held, 62 fire prevention inspections were made, and 23 smoke CO resale inspections were completed. And they've completed the purchase order for the new fire truck, and their expectation is delivery will be in 11 to 13 months. And that's it, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. And Public Works and Engineering, Ms. Byrne.
Thank you, Mayor. So right now, as far as DPW is concerned, it's all about the leaves. The leaves are coming down, and DPW is going around town and picking them up. So that's it.
Thank you. Despite the warm weather, it is that time of year.
It is that time of year.
And community affairs, Mr. Hoover. Sorry, I checked you off before I called you.
No problem. Okay, for the seniors, Madison has not been delivering the normal set of programs and services to seniors for the past 7 or so months. In order to assess the desire and demand for senior-centered-like services to Madison seniors, the Senior Citizens Advisory Committee will undertake a survey. We plan to use the results as one tool to formulate a plan. The Madison Downtown Development Commission. There are 2 more chances to attend the farmers market located at Dodge Field. The last day is November 19th, and the hours will remain the same from 2 to 7. Customer health and safety guidelines are posted at the entrances. The Borough of Madison and the Office of Business Development, the Madison Downtown Development Commission, and the Madison Area Chamber of Commerce are asking that you make shopping local a priority this 2020 holiday season. The success of our small businesses is crucial to the economic health of our community. The pandemic has placed an extraordinary strain on local businesses, and this year more than ever, they need your support, our support. A targeted marketing plan is underway and will incorporate this message. Quote, now more than ever before, there is no place like home for the holidays in Madison. Shop early, shop often, and shop local. Chamber of Commerce. The holiday window painting will be completed by November 25th. Find Rosie, the Rose City Reindeer event will begin on Saturday, November 28th. Madison gift checks will be promoted during the holiday season. Businesses will be given a sign denoting that they accept these gift checks. Madison Community Arts Center. The new entertainment series, Fall Back into the Arts, was a wonderful success. Approximately 125 members of the community attended the final performance by the Thorns of Madison. And thanks to Coldwell Banker for sponsoring it, for their series sponsorship, as well as to the DDC, the Chamber, and the Madison Community Arts Council, MACA. Have a Good Day Cafe provided complimentary hot chocolate throughout the final concert. Plans are continuing for the virtual Holiday Arts Festival, recorded at the Arts Center, to be broadcast in late November and December. The installation of the lighting grid at the Arts Center has been scheduled for December 16th through December 30th. The Baroque Orchestra of New Jersey will be recording another concert at the Arts Center in November. From the Museum of Early Trades and Crafts, the METC first virtual benefit was held last week, and it was a great success. Thanks to everyone, especially Mayor Bob Connolly and Councilwoman Mikey Sherrill, who joined virtually in support of METC scholarship programs. The ongoing restoration and conservation of the interior finishes at the James Library Building will commence next month with the interior finishes. Evergreen Architectural Arts will be overseeing the project, which will entail work on the decorative painting and specialty features within the building. The museum was recently notified that they are the recipients of a $50,000 grant from the New Jersey Historic Trust, which will fund the first phase of feasibility study to redesign and rebuild the museum's collections facility. This space, located within the historic James Library, was damaged by mold in late 2019, necessitating remediation and the creation of a new collections facility. The required match for the grant was provided by the Madison Open Space Recreation and Historic Preservation Fund and the New Jersey Historical Commission. From MACA, the Madison Arts and Cultural Alliance is pleased to announce the launch of their robust, easy to use, and visually pleasing website, madisonartsnj.org. Please take a look and share with your friends. The Recreation Department, the Rec Department was recently able to have the Madison High School tennis courts lined for pickleball. Each of the 6 courts has one set of pickleball lines on each side, providing the ability to host 12 games simultaneously. The courts are lit and open to the public on a first come, first served basis. Portable nets are needed for now, but in the future, nets will be stored on site. We would like to thank Andrea Podolsky, Dave Dreschel, and the Madison Board of Education for their cooperation and for allowing us to offer another great recreational opportunity for Madison residents. Renovation work on the infield at Del Barton Park and Madison Junior School is officially underway and will be completed shortly. There will be better playing surfaces and fewer rainouts for the spring and summer 2021 baseball and softball seasons. Youth basketball and wrestling, with the exception of ice hockey, are currently in holding pattern due to the status of the school gyms and the governor's announcement today. Updates will be published via Rosenet as they become available. And lastly, the Rosedale skating rink will be flooded sometime shortly after the first week of December. I think that's wishful thinking, but that's what the plan is. The possibility of warm weather could delay that date. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And health, Ms. Cohen.
Thank you, Mayor. The Health Department has already conducted several flu clinics serving Madison, Chatham Township, and Springfield. Our final clinic of the season will be held on November 12th, 2 to 4 p.m. at the Civic Center. Appointments are required, and residents can sign up online by visiting rosenet.org/flu or by calling the Health Department. If you have a pet, save the date for Madison's upcoming rabies clinic on December 5th. Like our flu clinics, appointments will be required. Online registration and more information will be available in the coming days. A few COVID-related updates. As of today, Madison reports 231 total cases of COVID-19. That is 21 new cases since our last meeting. 18 cases remain open and are still being monitored by the Health Department. The Madison Health Department continues to work closely with the school district, providing support through consultation, guidance, and public health investigations. As our numbers indicate, Madison is not immune to the continued uptick in cases seen throughout our state and in our country. Madison has seen more community-based cases in the last 4 weeks than at any other time during this public health emergency. As we all look ahead to Thanksgiving, the Madison Health Department asks our community to limit travel, reduce not only the size of gatherings this year, but also limit how many different households join together for the celebrations. We all know these are hard decisions, but ones we must take to ensure our families and communities remain safe and healthy. Today, the governor announced restrictions and updated guidance around indoor dining and limiting interstate sports competition through the high school level. Detailed guidance will be finalized in the coming days. The list of states and U.S. territories included in New Jersey's travel advisory has increased to 43. However, given the current case rate in New Jersey and the case rate throughout the country, current guidance is to limit interstate travel to and from New Jersey as much as possible. If you don't need to travel out of state, simply stay home. Remember, the choices we make can have a major impact on the lives of our friends and neighbors. They can impede our community's ability to operate schools, recreation programs, and stay Madison strong. So continue to wash your hands, use face coverings, practice social distancing, and stay home and get tested if you don't feel well. Thank you.
Thank you. And utilities, Ms. Ehrlich.
Thank you, Mayor. From the electric department, the tree trimming crews are continuing line clearance on Garfield Avenue, Candlewood Drive, and Fox Chase Road. The department responded to several emergency repairs due to a traffic accident and storm damage. They made some upgrades to existing equipment, and they responded to service calls by contractors and for several public projects as well. The department completed the car charging station hookups at the Cook Avenue and community pool parking lots, and additional street lighting was also installed where needed. The department has also been troubleshooting the parking lot lighting in the East Street parking lot. And finally, Jim and Tina noted that the department is looking into a new roof for the Kings Road substation where there have been some small water issues. The existing roof is 31 years old, and so they are keeping an eye on that. From the water department advises that all drinking fountains in the parks have been shut down for the winter to keep them from freezing and causing damage, and that the recreation huts will be next once the fall sports programs have wrapped up for the season. They also remind customers to have their irrigation systems winterized and to remove all hoses from outside faucets. The emergency power generators have been run and tested as part of the monthly maintenance program at our pumps to ensure uninterrupted service in case of a power failure. That's all for utilities.
Thank you. On to communications petitions.
None received, Mayor.
Thank you. And now we're on to our first of two invitations for discussion. This is, again, the one that is limited to either our agenda items or our consent resolutions, which I'll review shortly. There will be another invitation later in the meeting when you may comment on any topic. So you'll need to wait if you have other comments to make. If you are to make a comment in either session, you're please raise your hand if you're online by clicking on the hand, or if you're on the phone by hitting *9. And note, for security reasons, we will not recognize anyone listed as anonymous or a caller without a phone number identified. Once you are recognized and unmuted, you must state your name and address before starting any comments. Failure to do so may result in you being muted or disconnected. And then once you state your name and address, then state the resolution you're commenting on or the agenda item. And try to keep your comments to 3 minutes, but in the holiday spirit, we give you an extra minute leeway, but we will ask you to stop at 4 minutes. And these are the agenda items that we'll be discussing. Well, as mentioned, we've already heard of a part of an update on COVID-19, but Eric Range, President of the Board of Health, will be presenting more background on where we are with the pandemic. And we also have a resolution on fair and free elections we'll be discussing. And these are the resolutions that are part of the consent agenda, which you'll understand when we get to consent. Resolution 273 is authorizing renewal of a contract for yard waste collection and disposal with Waste Industries. This is a contract year for 2021 and 2022, not to exceed $422,000. Resolution 274, application emergency fund CRF grant. And this is to support the costs incurred in our response to COVID-19. We're going to apply for the LGEF grant in the amount of $198,000. Resolution 275 is authorizing renewal of rental agreement for use of a portion of our public safety complex by AAA for defensive driving instruction. Resolution 276 is awarding professional services contract to Richard Wolowitz, Richview Consulting for municipal arborist services. And this is at the rate of $82 per hour. And this is through December 31, 2021. Resolution 277, which will be here in the discussion, is resolution of Borough of Madison supporting free and fair elections. Resolution 278 is resolution approving parking signs for dedicated veteran parking spaces, as mentioned in comments about Veterans Day. Resolution 279, authorizing the purchase of pickup truck and accessories for the water department through New Jersey co-op pricing system. And this is amount not to exceed $69,777. And it's funded through ordinance 37, 2020. Resolution 280 is awarding a bid for purchase of new electric AMI meters and also water meters, and this is in the amount of $149,421 and being funded through ordinances 10, 2018 and ordinance 28, 2020. Resolution 281 is authorizing special event permit to allow use of Niles Park by the Covenant House and NJ for overnight event on November 19th. Resolution 282 is a transfer of the 2020 budget transfers that Carmela Vitale reported on in her report. Resolution 283, resolution authorizing appointment of Michael Dollar to the position of mechanic in the Public Works Department. This is filling the vacancy by a retiree, and its annual salary of $54,101. So those are the resolutions to make comment on, or the two agenda items. If you wish to comment, please click now, and Claire Whitcomb will call you up, and again, state your name, your address, and the resolution or the agenda item you're commenting on.
Hi, my name is Claire Whitcomb. I'm at 12 Fairwood Road in Madison. This is a super small comment regarding the purchase of a pickup truck, resolution 279 for the water department. Would it be possible when the resolutions are written to indicate any environmental characteristics like mileage or something so that the public has an understanding of the progressiveness of the vehicle? That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Good comment. Ray Cody is taking notes, and we will, I think that's a good thing to add to our resolutions as we go forward. And for those that may not be aware, our recent purchases for vehicles for the police department have been hybrids, and we should be tracking that. Anyone else wishing to comment? Seeing none, I close this part of the meeting and we go on to our agenda discussions. If Eric is ready, we'll call him in first. I'll let Deb do an introduction.
While Michael brings Eric up, Eric is the president of the Board of Health and is just going to go into a little more detail. My reports tend to be very generic, but he'll talk about some of the trends and some other advisories and stuff. And he got to listen to the governor today, so he will pass on that information. Take it away, Eric.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman Cohen. Thank you, Mayor Conley, for recommending that we do this slightly deeper dive as we see the cases continue to tick up here. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and just run through a few items here. Move the participant list out of my way here. Okay. So one of the things, of course, we have our state systems in the Department of Health. And actually, before I jump into this, really can't give an update on the pandemic without really giving a shout out to our wonderful health department staff who have literally been working 7 days a week since March. Marlene Dolan leads our contact tracing and case investigation efforts. She's our full-time public health nurse. ably assisted by G Nash, and pull in others as we need them. Maeve Byrne has also been volunteering with Marlene and giving her support. Some COVID contact tracing as late, but also other types of public health data entry sort of stuff to relieve some of that from Marlene. So big shout out to the whole team, and also Mike Fitzpatrick, our health officer, who I'm in daily contact with Deb Cohen and Mike and Marlene, and really making sure that Madison's coming up against the pandemic the best way we can. So the real reason why we're here is this is similar to the updates, the data updates that I give at the Board of Health meetings each month, but we thought that it would be helpful for the council to kind of get one of these updates, and then also just share some other information around the pandemic. So these maps come from COVID Act Now. If you've been following the governor's press conferences from the very beginning, when New Jersey was one of only a handful of states that were colored green on this map, the governor put this map in his in his daily briefings. He has not done so in a while we've been orange, but I think it's important to see where we're currently seeing true outbreaks. So the states in red are classified by COVID Act Now as being in an outbreak state, and most of these states generally have a case incidence rate of 25 cases per 100,000 or more. And the orange ones are the ones kind of creeping up towards that number. And we'll talk more about that momentarily. But each day since November 4th, the United States has seen 100,000 new cases of COVID-19, which is the largest numbers since the pandemic began here in March. And in New Jersey, for that same period, we've seen just over 2,300 cases reported on Saturday. The state health department reported more than 3,000 cases on Saturday. So the second wave, if this isn't it, certainly is creeping and knocking at our door. The county map to the right there, similar metrics. So you can see counties that are surrounding us are starting to turn red. And this is similar to what we saw at the beginning of the pandemic, right? Started in Bergen County, Essex County, Union County, and slowly crept kind of west and south through the state. So we're hoping that that's not a bellwether of what's coming, but certainly we're seeing additional cases in Madison and in Morris County as well. So this is a graph, again, from COVID Act Now. They do a great kind of visual representation of the aggregate data. So they take the 7-day rolling averages for the data that they're aggregating from various sources, the CDC, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid, and other government sources. And this is sort of the timeline from the whole pandemic, from very early in March all the way through to the present. And you can see kind of the big critical spike when we were in the heat of this in March and April, and where we are today. Today's calculation is 21.6 cases per 100,000 in Morris County, which is really about the smallest unit, geographic unit that makes a lot of sense to talk about. We'll talk a little bit about the numbers in Madison, but to extrapolate any sort of population level actions or what have you, just on the small number of cases and observations that we have in Madison is difficult to do. So the last time that we saw a case rate this high was April 28th, which was just after the peak, and as we were coming down off the peak. The other number that you probably hear quite a bit from the governor's office during his presentations and from the New Jersey Board of Health is the infection rate, or the RT. And this is a calculation of how many cases arise from every case of COVID-19. So if the number is at 1, that means that every case of COVID is creating another new case. And that basically means that if you're exactly at 1, your case count is remaining steady. If you're above the number 1, your number of cases is growing. And if you're under the number 1, your total number of cases will decline over time. So at this point, and this is statistics, obviously you can't infect only 0.22 of a person. But statistically speaking, right now in Morris County, we're seeing growth in the number of infections, and our infection rate is 1.22. COVID, when unchecked, has a rate of transmission somewhere between 2 and 2.5. So, this number reflects some actions that we're taking, masks, social distancing, et cetera, that's driving that number down. But our total number of cases will continue to rise as long as our rate of transmission remains above 1. This is a little bit of a case look back of where we've been and where we are currently. For those of you who are eagle eyes comparing this slide to the reports that we put out 3 days a week on Borough Social or the updates we put on RoseNet, these numbers will not align exactly. And the reason for that is when we do the social updates and the updates for the community, those are not necessarily real time. There is delay between when the sample is collected, when the Madison Health Department gets the report of the case in through the state systems, and then obviously we're only communicating 3 days a week those report numbers. So particularly at the beginning of a month, we can see cases that are actually October cases, for instance, trickling through the first week or so in the update. So if you're like, hey, I was just on RoseNet and this isn't the numbers, that's the reason why. But this is a little more precise and accurate to what is actually happening out there. So as you can see to date, we've seen 13 new confirmed cases in Madison, along with 12 probable cases. And we'll talk a little bit about the differences there. A confirmed case is a case that is laboratory confirmed through a PCR test. So that's usually the nasal swab sent to a lab, or the Rutgers saliva test sent to a lab. Takes a couple of days to get those results back. That is the gold standard test, and that is the test that has been used predominantly throughout the course of the pandemic. Probable cases early in the pandemic were mostly what they call epi-linked or epidemiologically linked cases, and weren't usually included in the total case numbers. So that would be, particularly at some place like a nursing home where they had lots of cases, another resident comes down with all the signs and symptoms. They may not have actually tested that person, but that person would have been considered a probable case. Now what we're seeing driving these probable case numbers is less those and more the rapid antigen testing. So that's a test that you can go to the doctor's office, they put it through a point of care machine, and you get that test result back in 15, 20 minutes, an hour, couple hours. Those antigen tests generally have been less reliable, less accurate, and can produce false positives. There's a new kind of version that the state has just acquired, the Abbott Binax tests that are supposed to take care of some of those. But as far as those antigen tests, they come into us as a probable case because they are not PCR lab confirmed. Ultimately, the health department still has to address those as a positive case. They do contact tracing, they do case investigation. So while they're not in that confirmed number, and they're not in the confirmed numbers that you're seeing from the state. So, you know, over the weekend when they were announcing 3,000 some odd confirmed cases, they are not including, as we are not in our confirmed number, the antigen rapid test. But they do have resources dedicated to them. And if you are a close contact of a probable case, you're still going to be asked to quarantine just as though it's a confirmed case. So you can see kind of the rapid rise, even if we look at just the confirmed cases in Madison. You know, we are well on track this month to exceed, well, you know, maybe even double our number from October. So that's really concerning to us. And we continue to monitor it, and you can see kind of what the background has been over the last several months. It's important to know that all of these, save for one case in June, are community spread, right? Or community cases. They're not in long-term care facilities. June was the last time we had a resident in one of our long-term care facilities test positive. So these are, which is very different than early on in the pandemic. So as Deb noted in her report, these are, when you eliminate kind of the long-term care facility reports, our last 4 weeks exceed the number of cases we saw in April. So, you know, this is real, and the second wave is certainly coming if it's not already here. One of the things we get a lot of questions, whether they're social media comments on the Borough posts or elsewhere, is can we get more information on the cases? And that's difficult to do as we roll out in a community the size of Madison, giving age demographics and, you know, oh, well, this is household transmission, or this is, you know, this was a sibling of, you know, the other case at the high school or what have you. It can be very easy to start to connect the dots using just that little bit of information. So we don't do that, but we thought it would be helpful to look back at September and October and kind of give some broad strokes of, you know, what the age demographics we're seeing in the community. So, you know, this is where those September and October cases land as far as ages go. And I think it's, you know, helpful to see for the community. Again, early in the pandemic, we saw, you know, 60 years and plus was a huge demographic for us, largely driven, but not exclusively, by long-term care facilities. And now we're seeing, you know, working aged adults, 40 to 59, and, you know, others kind of driving our case count at this point. These are some other observations we're seeing from case investigation, contact tracing in the health department. These are a little less data driven and a little more anecdotal, but I think it's important to share this information. Many, although not all, community members are cooperative with our contact tracers in Madison in particular, which is hugely important for us to be able to identify who a case has been around, when they were potentially infectious, and get those people communicated with and quarantined so we can break that chain of transmission. We, like all contact tracers, do run into the occasional person who, you know, I don't want to talk to you, I'm not giving you that information. And ultimately it's to the detriment of the greater community. We kind of just hope at that point that they do the right thing at the very least, and communicate with the people who would fall into, those categories of contacts, so they can, to use the governor's term, take themselves off the field and not be out in the community spreading. As Deb mentioned, community spread is definitely here in Madison, Morris County, and New Jersey. Most of the cases we see during contact tracing are not otherwise connected to a known case. They are of unknown origin. So that could be, they're picking it up kind of anywhere. Where the exception to that is in household exposures. CDC just released a study in the last couple of weeks that 50% of all household members will contract COVID-19 if they have a household member that does. Frankly, I'm shocked that it's only 50%. But within Madison, since September, we've had 39 cases in 14 different households. So a number of our cases are, households of 3 or 4 or even 2, that those are the ones we're finding easily identified links, but they are driving some of our numbers up over the last few months. We're also seeing a large number of close contacts being created by sports teams that require them to quarantine, and whether the team is associated with our schools or club sports or regional club sports, with community members from multiple communities or multiple counties even coming together and playing on the same team. Those require an exorbitant amount of time for the contact tracers to address, which is concerning. And it also is taking larger numbers of students than we would like, frankly, out of school and kind of forcing them into a virtual only scenario when they're, while they're quarantining. Knock on wood, we have not seen widespread transmission in sports settings yet, where there are multiple cases. So quarantining and identifying the cases early seems to be working. But we, of course, as we move into the winter sports season with indoor sports like basketball and wrestling and ice hockey and volleyball and other indoor sports, between that and the increased case count, we're really concerned about what that potentially is going to mean for case counts. Indoor gatherings with limited social distancing and mask use continue to be a concern. We're hearing in Madison, not so much large parties or large gatherings, or nobody likes to call it a party when we're contact tracing. So we've heard everything from gathering to shindig to whatever. It's never a party. So it's whatever the thesaurus says that day. But even where you have 6 or 7 teenagers together from 7 different households, that can very quickly become kind of a hotspot creating event where they then go to their households and it spreads through. And lastly, we've seen, as you are all aware from the updates that come out of the schools, cases in the school community, both students and faculty and staff. But we've been fortunate that people are staying home when they're sick, they're following the quarantine, and we have not seen in-school transmission or confirmed in-school transmission. So where we have, and I don't like to say it this way, but for lack of a better way of saying it, where we have highly regulated behaviors, like in schools where they have to have their masks on, they have, barriers and things like that. And we're able to have a little more control over just the enforcement of things like the travel advisories and things like that. We're not seeing in-school transmission. And lastly, so, where are we going from here? What are the next steps? on the graphic on the right here shows a little bit about, taking that rate of transmission of COVID from 2 and cutting that in half to 1 even, and shows that, unchecked COVID, 1 case of COVID can create, after a few cycles of incubation, can create 15 cases. If we can bring that down through preventative measures to just 1, you're down to 4 cases versus 15. And those are really real numbers in Madison, right? We don't have hundreds of cases. We don't have even dozens of cases. So if we can really focus in and do all of the things we need to do as a community, we can have a real impact. So what are we doing? The governor just announced last week or 10 days ago, executive order around workplaces and workplace screenings. So now most employers are required to have their employees check in, do a at-home health screening or other, and provide that information to their employer to make sure that they're not coming in while they're sick. Be thoughtful about those non-essential activities, especially those longer in duration indoor activities with minimal social distancing. We know it's been a long 9 months, and the fatigue is real. But again, even gathering with 5, 6, 7 people from different households can, in a small scenario like Madison, can create a big rise on a percentage basis in cases. Think about those Thanksgiving plans, as Councilwoman Cohen mentioned. Can you keep it smaller? Can you minimize the number of households? Do you need to travel or have people travel to you? Of course, stay home if you don't feel well. The Morris County will be announcing in the next week or so, week to 2 weeks, increased testing capacity at the county level, funded through the CARES Act. So there'll be more testing available for those that might not have access through a healthcare provider. And for those of you who have been listening to the news today, Pfizer has announced that they will be seeking emergency approval for their vaccine probably by the end of the month. And we expect others to follow. But as far as general availability of that, it will be well into 2021 before it's manufactured. First responders, healthcare workers will be kind of the first round of people to get them, and then other vulnerable populations. So, I as a member of the general healthy public, I wouldn't necessarily be holding your breath for that vaccine, in December or January or February. I think the earliest you'd possibly see it for general distribution to the general public is March or April. And I think even that would be aggressive. So that's sort of the update. If council members have any questions, I'm happy to do my best to answer them, or at least say I don't know, and we'll come back with an answer. And Deb, I don't know if you had anything you wanted to add.
Thank you, Eric, for certainly very thorough, and appreciate you talked about all the volunteers and those and the staff at health department making this happen, and your leadership. You've been putting in I don't know how many hours since the pandemic rolled out, so we appreciate what you're doing there. Deb, if you want to add comments, and then anything else from the other council members.
Well, you stole my main comment, which was
All
to,
right.
to thank
It's
Eric.
all right to say that. It's all right to say that twice, I think.
That's all right. He deserves it. I can tell you, not only have we been in daily contact, it is usually multiple times a day via text and phone call. And sometimes 2 or 3 of us on the phone call, me, him, and Mike, me, him, and Marlene, whomever we can get. So it is definitely much appreciated. And just my little plug on Thanksgiving to kind of bring things full circle, as somebody who normally travels to New Hampshire and Massachusetts, we are staying home and utilizing our restaurants in town. We have 3 different restaurants. We're ordering piecemeal and putting a Thanksgiving dinner together that way. It's not what we want. We want to see our family. We want to hang out. with the people we love. But it just doesn't make sense to travel but know that a lot of the restaurants, if you are staying in towns and having a smaller gathering, have lots of options for catering. But thanks, Eric. This was great.
I'm
Bob,
muted.
you're on mute.
Oh, yeah, let me try that again. Any other questions or comments for Eric? If you're unmuted. Right, well, thank you very much for putting this together and greatly appreciate it.
Not a problem.
All right, our next agenda item is the free and fair elections. I'm just going to cue this up and then hand off to Rachel, who proposed this. Obviously, it's been I don't even think a roller coaster ride would be the right description to talk about the weeks leading up and the week since the election. There's positive and negative as everything. We should be proud that more people voted in this election than ever before. But with 50 states and 50 different rules on how to vote and what is considered a timely vote, there is so much work to do in this democracy. So, and when Rachel initially suggested this resolution, as she knows, I said, you really think it's necessary? And in reality, it is. And what it does is reaffirm that every vote cast by the laws of a particular state must be counted. And that is what our country's been founded on. And to look at it otherwise would just undermine our democracy. So I thank Rachel for bringing this forward, and hand it off to you, and then for other comments before we move it.
Thanks so much, Mayor. I want to start just by quoting Governor Larry Hogan, the Republican governor of Maryland, who last week stated, "Everyone in America wants a free and fair election. They want every single vote to be counted. But frivolous lawsuits to drag this out if there's no merit to these claims absolutely is wrong for the country." Clearly, this is a bipartisan call for free and fair elections. As Madison's resolution states, attempts to deny Americans the right to have their voices heard, as guaranteed in the US Constitution, is an offense to the democratic values that we cherish and uphold. And the right and privilege of voting should be revered and defended by elected leaders at all levels. And it was that call to action by our Governor Murphy of New Jersey and leaders around the country that really spurred me to propose this resolution to the mayor. I want to commend you, Mayor Conley, for placing this resolution on the agenda. And I want to ask my fellow council members to affirm the following, which is resolved in this resolution as follows: that all votes must be counted without interference or intimidation, that incidents of fraud, voter suppression, or other election irregularities must be investigated impartially and remedied as appropriate, and that the true election results must be respected regardless of who wins. America is counting the votes, and we must respect the results as we always have before. No election or person is more important than our democracy. And so I will be voting yes to support this important resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Other comments? John?
Well, I just want to applaud Rachel and yourself, Mayor, for proposing this, and you have my wholehearted support for every word in there.
Deb?
I was going to say, I think given all of the news that has happened today regarding the election and interference and stuff, it's even more important. I support it 100%. But I think it's, what we need to do to send a message.
Thank you. Maureen?
Yeah, it's unfortunate that we have to take these steps. But it's important that we take these steps.
I might as well get my words in.
Yep.
Here.
Carmela?
Yeah, God forbid we don't hear from me, right? Or something. Yeah. Rachel, good of you to bring this forward. This has been a kind of a tough week for a lot of people. Fortunately, we did very well in Madison, but I just think that this is so important and we have to, use this expression of free and fair elections to start a healing process. And I think that if we could do this on this level and kind of move this up, the healing will begin and we'll be able to move forward, which is going to be the most important couple of months of all of our lives. So thank you so much to the two of you for doing this. Appreciate it. And I, of course, will be happy to say yes to this particular resolution.
Great. Any other comments? I have shared this with our neighboring towns. I have a regular call with our neighboring mayors, and so I don't know whether they'll push it forward, but hopefully they will. Also, as noted in the resolution, this will be forwarded to the governor, secretary of state, and the New Jersey League of Municipalities. Before we had moved this, I was going to read it into the record, but Rachel's comments covered the whereases, and she also shared the key now that they're being resolved. So I think we have got the context of this very important resolution. So Rachel, if you could move this resolution for me.
Mayor, I move resolution 277-2020.
I'll second that.
Okay, a second. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Vitale,
Yes.
Ms. Bailey,
Yes.
Ms. Byrne,
Yes.
Hoover,
Yes.
Ms. Cohen,
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you again for the work on this. And now we move on to ordinance for hearing. Will the clerk please read the statement?
The ordinance is scheduled for hearing, were introduced by title and passed on a first reading at regular meetings of the council held on Wednesday, October the 14th, and Monday, October the 26th of 2020. Were posted and filed according to law, and copies were made available to the general public requesting same.
Oh, Mayor, I
Let me
move.
try that again, that I was muted.
You
I
have-
call up ordinances for second reading. Ask the clerk to read said ordinances by title. Ordinance 37-2020.
Ordinance, the Borough of Madison appropriating $72,000 from the Water Capital Improvement Fund for the purchase of a truck and accessories for the water department.
I open the hearing, and anyone in the public that wishing to comment on this ordinance, please raise your hand by clicking on the hand. Seeing none, I close the hearing.
Mayor, I move ordinance 37-2020.
Second.
Any council discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Vitale,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Ms. Byrne,
Yes.
Mr. Hoover,
Yes.
Ms. Cohen,
Yes.
Ms. Ehrlich.
Yes.
I declare ordinance 37-2020 adopted and finally passed, and ask the clerk to publish notice thereof in the newspaper and file the ordinance according to the law. Ordinance 38-2020.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison appropriating $275,000 from the General Capital Improvement Fund for the 2020 Sanitary Sewer Improvement Program.
I open the hearing to the public. Anyone wishing to comment, please raise your hand. Seeing none, I close the hearing.
Mayor, I move ordinance 38-2020.
Second.
Any council discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Vitale,
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Byrne,
Yes.
Mr. Hoover,
Yes.
Ms. Cohen,
Yes.
Ms. Ehrlich.
Here we go. Yeah, that's what I heard a train whistle. That's probably what I heard instead of. Thank you.
Definitely,
Yeah. I declare ordinance 38-2020 adopted and finally passed, and ask the clerk to publish notice there in the newspaper and file the ordinance according to the law. Ordinance 39-2020.
ordinance of the Borough of Madison appropriating $340,000 from the General Capital Improvement Fund for the purchase of a trackless skid steer and front end loader.
I open the hearing to the public. Anyone wishing to comment, please raise your hand. Seeing none, I close the hearing.
Mayor, I move ordinance 39-2020.
Second,
Any council discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Vitale,
Yes.
Miss Bailey,
Yes.
Miss Byrne,
Yes.
Mr. Hoover,
Yes.
Ms. Cohen,
Yes.
Ehrlich.
yes.
I declare ordinance 39-2020 adopted and finally passed, and ask the clerk to publish notice there in the newspaper and file the ordinance according to the law. We now move on to our second for invitation for discussion. This is when you may comment on any.
Bob,
Us-
what about ordinance 40-2020?
That's
That-
for introduction.
That's for introduction.
Right.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm
Just want to
getting
make
a little
sure.
worried that I'm slipping up here, you know? Okay, sorry. We are on to our second for invitation for discussion when you may, the public may comment on a topic. Again, the same rules apply. Raise your hand by clicking on your screen, the hand on your screen, or hitting *9 if you're on the phone. Try to keep your first thing out of your mouth should be your name and address, and then try to keep your comments to 3 minutes, but we'll give you a 1-minute grace period. And I see David Luber, so will be unmuted and brought forward.
I just want to thank Eric Range,
But,
Dave
so-
Luber, 7 Lawrence Road, Madison. I just want to thank Eric Range for his update briefing on the COVID-19 contagion in Morris County and in Madison. I found it very informative, and I'm reassured by all the efforts that the health department and the Board of Health is taking on our part. I only ask that all our residents continue to social distance and wear a mask when in public places. Thank you again for the briefing.
Thank you, David. And I think that reinforcing the that we don't let our guard down. For those that watch college football, probably a lot of us enjoyed what was a great game between Clemson and Notre Dame, and what we saw at the end of that game was extremely scary, and the effects of that may be spread throughout the country. And we'll next comment, Maria Slabaugh.
Hello, Mayor and Council. Maria Slabaugh, 28 Stafford Drive. I just wanted to comment that while I find it somewhat unfortunate that the resolution reiterating kind of our beliefs about our democracy is unfortunate, on the other hand, I just, also recognize that it's never a bad thing to revisit those statements and remind us of the importance of them. And so I just want to thank Rachel Ehrlich, as well as the rest of the council, for that reading and the resolution, and for recognizing those sort of democratic principles I think that we all agree with. And it was just a pleasure to hear that reiterated tonight by the council. So thank you.
Thank you. And Matthew Barry.
Actually, it's Rachel Berry.
I was wondering whether it's going to be a bait and switch. That's okay. So,
Sorry, Zoom error. Rachel Berry, 201 Green Village Road. I too, like Maria, would just like to say how much I appreciate the free and fair election resolution being put forth tonight. I do think that it's important to reinforce the message at the local level. We had elections right here in Madison, so it's great to know that the council is in full support of counting every vote and making sure the process goes on as it should, so every voice is heard. So again, thank you, Rachel, and thank you to the council for passing it.
thank you. And Christine Boyle.
Hi, this is Christine Boyle at 9 Buckingham Drive. I'm speaking in support of Resolution 277-2020. I never thought I would need to affirmatively speak in support of a resolution supporting free and fair elections in the US. This is the essence of our democracy. Our democracy starts and ends with all of us honoring every vote, as we've been watching occur for the past days this week. As fundamentally important to honor every vote, I think a peaceful transfer of power is important And I'm grateful to you, to the mayor and council for this resolution tonight. And I call on all of our leaders to put patriotism in the front seat at all levels of government, to be cautious in the next days and months as silent or express complicity in meritless claims about the validity of our free and fair elections will undermine this great experiment, which requires participation by we the people, for us and for future generations. Thank you again for reading and the adoption of the resolution.
Thank you, Christine, and very well said. Anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing none, I close this part of the meeting, and we now go into introduction of ordinances. Will the clerk please read the statement? Oh,
Muted.
I got it. Sorry
all right,
about
there we-
that.
That's
Okay. Again, the ordinance scheduled for first reading has a hearing date set for Monday, November the 23rd, 2020. Will be posted in the Madison Eagle, published in the Madison Eagle, posted on the bulletin board, and made available to members of the public requesting copies.
I call up ordinance 40-2020 for first reading. Ask the borough clerk to read said ordinance by title.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison amending Chapter 75, Section 75-14 of the Borough Code entitled Building Construction regarding building permits to increase fees.
Mayor, I move ordinance 40-2020.
Second.
Any council discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Vitale,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Ms. Byrne,
Yes.
Mr. Hoover,
Yes.
Ms. Cohen,
Yes.
Ms. Ehrlich.
Yes.
All right. Consent agenda resolutions. Will the clerk please read the statement?
The consent agenda resolutions will be enacted with a single motion. Any resolution requiring expenditure is supported by a certification of availability of funds. Any resolution requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda. All resolutions will be reflected in full in the minutes.
Mayor, I move consent agenda resolutions are 273-2020 to resolution 276-2020, and then resolution 278-2020 to resolution 283-2020.
Second.
Any discussion or any that need to be pulled? Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Vitale,
Yes.
Ms. Bailey,
Yes.
Ms. Byrne,
Yes.
Mr. Hoover,
Yes.
Ms. Cohen,
Yes.
Ms. Ehrlich.
Yes.
Right, there is no unfinished business. Approval of vouchers. Will the clerk please read the voucher totals?
For the current fund, $3,881,582.66. General capital fund, $6,425.60. Electric operating fund, $892,794.53. Water operating fund, $8,699.91. Water capital fund, $3,081.22. The trust, $1,921,010.45. The total is $6,713,594.37.
Mayor, I move approval of the vouchers.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Vitale,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Ms. Byrne,
Yes.
Mr. Hoover,
Yes.
Ms. Cohen,
Yes.
Ms. Ehrlich.
Yes.
All right, under new business, I'd like to make the following appointment requesting council confirmation. This is Kate Bartley, Prospect Street for unexpired 5-year term through December 31st, 2022. This is Alice Wade's slot. She has moved out of town.
Mayor, I move Kate Bartley as Shade Tree Management Management Commission.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Rachel,
Mayor, I move that we adjourn the meeting.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you. Take care all and be well.
Bye, guys.
Good night.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks.